Greetings, students, teachers, parents, and anyone else who's willing to listen to me talk. My name is Mr. Benjamin. It is November 2012, and today I'm going to talk to you about plant cells and animal cells, specifically the differences in organelles. Now, before we look at the differences, we're going to look at each cell individually. So we've got a cross-section of an animal cell here. Now, we're going to look at each organelle, the most important ones at least. Now, starting with importance, we can look at the nucleus. Now, all organelles are important to a cell, but the nucleus is very important. The nucleus, which is seen here, acts like the boss of the cell. It controls all the cell's activities, contains DNA. It's really important to the cell. Aside from that, we can start up here. We've got the cell membrane. Now, that's the outer lining around the cell here. And the cell membrane acts like the skin of a human being. It helps protect the cell, helps prevent pathogens from coming inside, and it deals with regulation of items that come in and out of the cell. Now, aside from that, we've got vacuoles, which are down here. Now, these are storage containers within the cell. They can hold food, they can transport proteins, they can do a lot of different things. Now, connected to the nucleus, we've got the endoplasmic reticulum. Now, that's here. On it, we can see some ribosomes, the dots there. Now, the endoplasmic reticulum, in conjunction with the nucleus, produces proteins. It can also fold and transport these proteins. And if anything else needs to be done to those proteins, that's when the Golgi apparatus or Golgi body comes into play. Now that can sort and modify proteins. So if a protein needs to go to a different part of the cell, if a protein needs a new function, that's what the Golgi body does. Now we're going to look at the plant cell next. We're going to get the green marker out here. Now we can see a lot of the same similar organelles. We've got the nucleus, the cell membrane, vacuoles. There are some differences though. First, we can see this thick cell wall around the plant cell. Now, the job of the cell wall is to help keep the plant cell structured and rigid. Plants don't really have bones, so if they didn't have that cell wall, they'd be kind of, just a ball of mush, ball of organelles, and that wouldn't work out too well for the cell itself. Aside from that, there are chloroplasts. Now, these are what make most plant cells green. They're involved in photosynthesis, which is the process that plants use to make sugar from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Now, I did forget about one organelle. Now, those are the mitochondria, which you can see here. Now, the mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of the cell. It helps produce energy for the cell. It takes sugar that's produced by the chloroplast and breaks it down so the cell has energy. We can see that. I'm just going to go back to this slide. We can see that in the animal cell as well. So animal cells get their energy from plant cells, essentially, or any animal that has consumed the plant. But plant cells are very important for that reason, and so are chloroplasts, because they produce the energy through photosynthesis. Now we're going to take a quick look at both cells together, and again, we can see pretty much the same sort of organelles: nucleus, vacuoles, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, everything like that. But the few key differences are the cell wall here and the chloroplast. In addition to that, there's differences in the vacuoles as well. You can see in the plant cell it's got one large vacuole, whereas the animal cell have a few small vacuoles all around. But that's a minor difference. Most importantly, we've got to consider the cell wall and the chloroplast. I've got some things to remember here. I'm just going to go through the organelles that we talked about. The nucleus, that's the boss of the cell, controls activity and contains the DNA. Mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of the cell, produces energy and it breaks down sugar. The cell membrane, it's the gateway to the cell, protects cell from pathogens, kind of acts like our skin. Vacuole, that's storage within the cell, and it can also take part in transport. Endoplasmic reticulum, that folds and transports integrated proteins, while the Golgi apparatus manipulates those newly made proteins, so it can sort, modify, package. Now, all of those organelles are found in both plant and animal cells, whereas these two organelles here, the cell wall and the chloroplast, are only found in animal cells. Now, we can remember that the cell wall is designed for structure and rigidity. It makes up for the fact that plants don't have any bones. The chloroplast is involved in photosynthesis, which is a very important process, because if we didn't have photosynthesis, we wouldn't have sugar, we wouldn't have plant life, we wouldn't have animal life, we wouldn't have life in general, really. That's pretty much it for this lesson. Just want to say thank you for listening to my video, and have a great night.